Hey, I'm Ryan. This is my brother Daniel. This is Rolls in the Family. Today we're going to be counting down our top 3 plays of December 2023. Final month of the year.
Here we go.
Also a month that, at least for me, is a lot of new board games into the collection typically because my birthday is in December, Christmas is in December.
Big month for
so a lot of times it's some new games. I decided to just be sick all month with my family, and
Rude.
Daniel decided to have a baby. So...
Hey,
congratulations, Daniel, on your second child.
Thank you.
Yes, he's just mere months away from playing his first board games, right?
Oh no, we gotta wait till you see I've got some games with infants in our top plays.
I do feel like that niche is missing a little bit.
I know,
like on the internet in general.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, I'm not even sure what you
would get that pathway going.
You know, Ryan,
we'll get that.
You've been interested in board game design. You know, it's a big opportunity.
Yeah. You got to find the space that's been unexplored, and I think in infants, that's good.
Maybe there's a reason. We'll see.
Yeah, so we're just gonna talk about the plays that rose to the top in the last month. We would love to hear about any recent plays that have stood out for you. We love details too, like why was it a good play? You know, sometimes it's just because a game had something interesting happen, or it was with a really good group, or there's lots of different reasons. We also have links to all of the games that we are mentioning. That's a way you can help support the channel if you check those out in the description below. But let's toss it over to Daniel for his number 3.
I thought you were gonna toss me something, and I was gonna catch it.
You can do that in editing, right?
Yeah. Well, throw it the other way because I'm next to the others. I don't know if that looked good. Anyways, so here with my number 3 of December to close out of the year. You know what, Ryan? I am very excited to talk about this game because this game has saddened me for so long, but it finally has been able to bring me joy again. And this is going to go to... You just love my intros to the game.
I have a guess, but...
I don't think you're going to get it. And this is going to go to Seven Wonders Duel.
My guess was Seven Wonders.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I thought I was right up until...
Oh, no, Ryan. Seven Wonders Duel. My wife and I have not been able to play Seven Wonders Duel in a long time. And part of it was because Seven Wonders Duel is a game that my wife and I have really enjoyed for a long time. But we got the Seven Wonders Duel expansion, the Pantheon expansion. And I played it several times. And, whenever you buy something, you want to justify liking it. And so you kind of, you're like, I like this, right? Like, I should like this. I just did not like the expansion. I think something I'm realizing is I never like when an expansion just adds this extra thing that pulls away from the core gameplay that's just so good. And that's just what I realized with this is the core gameplay of Seven Wonders Duel is so good. I don't want to be thinking about this other stuff that was just pulling away from it. And so we just took the expansion out. We played regular Seven Wonders Duel again, and it was great. I mean, the whole just gameplay, the whole playing, how the cards come out of the different shapes, and whatever card you take reveals different cards for your opponent. I mean, that is just a fun tension in the game of you're not just thinking about what you're doing. And then, this all is amplified with the 3 different win conditions of either you could have a military victory, a science victory, I think is what it's called. You get enough science cards, or just victory points. And so, a very just interesting tension throughout the game because you're kind of watching what's your opponent going after, and then that very much dictates, it's kind of almost, I think my wife and I were saying it's a little bit of a push your luck element to it of how am I willing to reveal, take this card,
because a lot of them
potentially
are face down.
Yeah, they're face down. It's I don't know what I'm gonna potentially give to my opponent as options, and so
I really like that decision to have ones face down because it makes it if they were all face up, it would be a lot of information for one to and it would be more of just a no luck type of situation. But I think that's cool. Like you said, it's kind of adds a push your luck element into it.
Yeah, and so my wife gambled a little bit, let me get a little too much on the military side of things, and I ended up getting a military victory. So it's funny, it wasn't even that amazing of a Seven Wonders. I kind of just pushed military and ended up getting the win, but taking the expansion out and playing it again, I was just really excited because we both were like, man, this is a great 2-player game that we have. And really no 2-player game for us has that just really interesting, just back and forth with taking cards and watching what your opponent does. I find that whole system works really great. So I can't remember, Ryan, first of all, I don't think, have we played this against each other? I couldn't remember.
One time,
and I'm guessing you won, and that's why you remember.
No, I just know I've played it once, and it was a long time ago, and I remember really liking it. And honestly, it would be one that I'd even still consider buying. It's just that I still, basically, ever since we moved out, 2-player games have not been my go-to. I mean, you play a lot more 2-player games with your wife than I do with my wife, or rather, the games we play typically are a little lighter. But yeah, I remember really liking it. It kind of answers that question of how do you take a drafting game and make it work well for 2 players? Because just normal card drafting isn't great with 2 players. Yeah. It turns into a situation of like every time it's like, do I take what I want or do I hate draft because I'm giving this right back to the person that just gave it to me? And I think it's a pretty brilliant way to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it kind of then instead of doing the whole just, do I take what I want or what they want, you're kind of have to do both of thinking at this all the time of, you're always thinking of what do I want, but then because it's unlock it, what's it unlock, and then it gets in really interesting situations as the the shape kind of gets down where there's maybe only one card left on one side, but then there's a whole thing of opportunities the other way, and just the way it all plays out is really cool. So that was, man, I want to say I hadn't played Seven Wonders Duel in maybe a year or something, so it was really awesome to get that one back to the table, and coming in at number 3, made the list. Seven Wonders Duel.
Yeah, it's good to not, fall into the sunk cost fallacy and realize that just like,
I know,
we don't like this expansion as much.
Usually
do. We usually do enjoy expansions. Yeah. So like there is almost this expectation that if we've researched it and it's got good reviews and stuff that we're going to enjoy it. But there's been a few games that's happened with. I know Ghost Stories was one. We finally just decided the White Moon expansion, we're like, it's making it a half hour longer and just more complex. And
then we just got Last Bastion instead. So
there you go. Alrighty, my number 3 I played very recently. This is a game that is one of my most played games of the last few years, though it didn't get very many plays this year. In fact, in the last week, I played it twice, and I had only played it once the whole rest of the year. And this is The Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Oh, Ryan.
A classic, a modern classic. This has been... Yeah. I mean, it's one of few games that I feel like
is it old enough to be called a classic? Is that
I don't know. In the cult of the new lens, it's ancient. But
the ancient game, Ryan dusted off.
People just clicked away from the video. They're like, these guys are still talking about Quacks.
Yeah, what are they doing?
So I've played a lot of games of Quacks. I think I'm over 40 plays of it. And we've talked about how one of the things that we really enjoy with Quacks is you can mix up the ingredient powers. And that's a lot of what keeps it fresh for so many plays. And I think this was just a very good example of that, because I definitely had an experience with like my strategy that was unlike any Quacks game I'd had before. And it kind of revolved around the red chip ability, which was that when you draw a red chip, you draw another one and set it to the side. And then you keep going, and you have to put that chip in at some point. Like, even if you bust, you have to put it in at the end. But you can decide when you want to put it in. And so initially, my thinking is like, okay, this will work really well with the green chips that I could save until the end because they need to be in the last 2 to trigger the ability. We had the blue chip that if it lands on a ruby, you immediately get a ruby. And so I was like, I can put it to the side, and if I ever am that many spaces away, I can just pull it in. There was also the Loco Weed from the expansion that doesn't have a number, was equal to, the number would be equal to how many different colors you had. So that's great to hold out, wait for yourself to get more colors, and then put back in. So that's what I'm thinking is like, it'll be great to, these are all like good abilities to hold on to. What I didn't think about is the implications of drawing a whites after a red. Because what ended up happening to me is I would draw my red,
good, Ryan.
And then I would draw like my white 3. And it's like, dang, I wanted one of my other ones. And I put it to the side. And then I'm going, and then I effectively bust because I know I have to put in my white 3, right? And so like I've gotten to 5 white in my pot, and I have to put in the white 3. But what I didn't think about is I haven't busted yet. And I don't have to put it in yet. So if I'm going to bust, I might as well bust as hard as I can. And because my white 3's out of my bag, my chances of like busting is so much lower. And so what ended up happening, and I had multiple reds. So I even had rounds where I have multiple whites that I've pulled out. And there was a round where I literally played my whole bag because there wasn't enough whites left
you had your white 3
to bust. And so I'm like, I'm going to bust. And at the end, I would throw it in, but I'm busting for like way more money than anybody else is getting. And so early on, I'm like, buying a bunch. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I'm getting way more points than anybody's getting. And so I actually, from round, I think like 5 on, never bought another chip because I busted every time. And I always took the victory points at that point.
Wow.
Now, granted, I ended up losing barely at the end, because I really didn't have a good last round. Like I needed to not bust, and I did bust. Or rather, no, the last round I didn't bust, but I had to end really early. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't want to lose the points I got from money. But it was such an interesting, like I'd never had a situation like this where I'm like, this is actually like kind of a good strategy. Because it's letting me play my whole bag, I'm getting so many chances with all those other chips to activate their abilities.
Yeah.
And then even though I'm only getting either money or points, I'm getting so much more because I'm playing so much more than everybody else. So I didn't win, but it was one of the more fun Quacks games I'd had recently. Like I'm just sitting here going, this is like working. Like it was such a unique strategy.
Sorry, explain to me again this red chip. Because I'm just
you play a red chip. You play a red chip, and then you draw another chip and set it to the side. And you have to put it in your pot at some point, but it can be whenever you want.
And so, did you just keep drawing white threes?
I happened to be getting my whites after my reds instead of my other ones.
Okay.
Which at first I thought was unfortunate because I'm not able to do clever things with like putting a green last.
Okay.
But what it ended up doing is making it so that my bag just doesn't have enough whites.
So you just kept drawing your whites after. Interesting.
Yeah. It was a little bit of just happenstance, but I had a lot of reds. I mean, there were times where I had 4 chips sitting to the side waiting.
Draw
red.
Okay, so you were doing this over and over. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, because that was kind of my whole strategy was like get quite a few reds, get chips that go well with that.
Interesting. Wonder if that's a common thing with that chip,
fascinating.
Or if that was.
It was enough fun that like if I had that in another game, I like would want to try it again. and now that I know like kind of how it worked, because it was kind of a halfway through the game realization that like, wait a second, this isn't so bad if I bust, if I'm able to get so much.
Right.
Wow. So yeah, it also was a 5-player game, and just a really fun, good game of Quacks. Where it just was the right game for the group. And
any new players to the game, or was it
not new? But there were a couple that had only played it a few times and actually were like wanting to play it to see if it was one that they'd be interested in getting. And so we ended up playing it twice.
Yeah.
Not on the same day, but while we were still with them, we were on a trip up in the mountains.
Nice.
But yeah, so I think they are thinking about getting it. Though I feel so bad because I have to be like, well, I have both expansions. You wouldn't have those, and you also wouldn't get these upgraded chips if you're buying it.
I just tell people,
I have to set the expectations that if you go buy
how much Quacks costs with the upgraded chips, and just tell them that's how much it costs.
Yeah, I even have the little custom storage containers that flip up, and enjoy it.
I know those have piqued my interest.
It's not representative, but there you go. Quacks. It was good to get to the table. I love Quacks, and it was a shame to be getting to the end of the year with only one play of it. So
yeah, Ryan, that is a shame. Absolutely a shame. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and Ryan continually discovering new Quack strategies. So if you like strategies to the Quacks of Quedlinburg and want to hear more, you smash that subscribe button to hear Ryan.
If you want to find out how Ryan got 4th out of 5 people in Quacks,
if you want to learn Quack strategies that will get you 4th place, smash that subscribe button, baby.
There we go.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, coming over to my number 2 play of the month is a new game that I acquired and got to try it, and it was a wonderful time.
Wow.
And that's gonna go to World Wonders. Woo! World Wonders. Ryan, I'm trying to. This game came out this year, right?
Yep, it's very new.
I was gonna say very new. And got it. This was actually in a bit of a exchange, and I'll be able to expound upon this more in our cold video that we'll be doing. But I'll give a little bit of a teaser. Ended up selling Isle of Cats, another polyomino game. My wife and I, especially my wife, really enjoys polyomino games, and so originally Isle of Cats was going to kind of be that in our collection. And as I'll explain more in that future video, ended up not working out. So that went out. World Wonders came in and got to try it. And it was a really great time. I'm excited to talk about this one because I know it's been getting a little bit of buzz in the board game world. And I think rightfully so. It's a really, I think what my wife and I were looking for was a tighter polyomino experience. We love when it's like you're really trying to fit things in tight. One game we got it from and really enjoyed it was My City. We're still playing through that. And so we got it in this, and I really, really enjoyed what it's doing here. I think to start, that it creates a really nice tension with placing pieces because it's got some interesting restrictions in terms of when playing. You're spending gold to buy these different shit. You can buy different sized buildings, and each of them is a different one of 5 colors, I think. And when placing a building, it has to go either next to a building of the same color or next to one of your roads. It's one or the other. And your roads you start building roads out from the bottom of your board. And so you're like trying to build roads out so that you have flexibility to place buildings, but you're also trying to kind of either place buildings so they go next to other buildings of the same color, or with your roads and whatnot. And so there's already that kind of interesting of like, okay, how can I best fit things together and whatnot. But then you add the monuments, and I mean, this is kind of the highlight part of the game. It's the thing that is definitely the eye candy of the game, because these monuments just look beautiful, and that just adds another whole interesting element, since each monument has based off, it has to have kind of a certain requirement to be placed on your map. So like 3 land spaces and 1 water space or something like that. So you're on top of building all of these buildings out and trying to score points, and we played with the objectives that you could, we're doing all that stuff. You're also trying to like set up spaces, because every round you can claim 1 monument, and you really want to be claiming 1 every round, because the reason you can only claim 1 is because whenever you take a monument, the cost is the rest of your goal, which is really interesting.
Fascinating.
And this is where I'd actually be excited to play this with more players, because you maybe face less tension with this with only 2. But I could see when you're playing with more players where, you're spending gold to do all your other actions. But man, if you really want that monument and you see somebody else maybe is going for it, you might be tempted to spend all your gold earlier. Whereas in a 2-player game, it wasn't as much tension with that part of it. So we were able to kind of wait till we have 1 gold and then spend it to get the monument we want. But those were super cool, and I just felt it all came together in this really just nice, just tight experience of playing polyomino pieces. And so it was a lot of fun. We got to play it once, and I got the win, and that's why it's on my top plays. But no, it was a really cool game, and excited to play it more. I think it'll have really good replayability. I know that's something we like a lot in terms of obviously the buildings are shuffled, in terms of how those are coming out. The monuments are coming out randomly. We played with the objectives; those are random and all that sort of stuff. I think each board, the river on each board, we played on the asymmetrical sides. And so all of that came together. It was really great. Really, really fun. It's not a super long game, but I think delivers a really fun experience. So it was a fun one to get to the table. And yeah, good times. But
yeah, nice. That's definitely one that caught my eye from the kind of 2023 crop of games.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm definitely still intrigued by it. Honestly, the reason it maybe is a little lower on my list to get or try is because I also have Planet Unknown coming on the way, which is a similar genre of polyomino. So I'm kind of curious to see kind of how that fits. But yeah, there is something inherently satisfying about puzzling pieces into a board.
I know. I was trying to think through the polyomino games. I mean, obviously now I got rid of Isle of Cats, but I've got My City. Feast for Odin, I guess. Polyomino.
Yeah, you still have Patchwork.
I do still have Patchwork. Yeah.
Oh, you still have? I didn't. I thought you sold it.
No, you don't call King Domino a polyomino. That's not a polyomino. No,
it's like a domino.
That's domino, not polyomino.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Uwe Rosenberg with Patchwork, which was designed when he was designing Feast for Odin, was kind of the catalyst for like a whole slew, because he ended up going on to creating Patchwork, and then he did Spring Meadow and Autumn Summer. I forget what the names of these ones are, but there's like a bunch of them in that series. And New York Zoo, and that was just him doing all these things, and then obviously became a lot more popular with others. Now it's to the point where it's like that used to be kind of a novel concept, right?
Yeah, just now you got to do something like with it.
Yeah, you got to figure out how to like stand out from the crowd of polyomino games.
Which I think with the monuments, I mean, that definitely is like the big thing that is really cool. But I think the thing that just, I guess, not caught me off guard, but it's the basic rules of the game, but just that whole placement restriction was really fun. And it's like, okay, so like, and because you can get cut off. Like if you don't have, if you place buildings in my, like I accidentally like cut off my road. It's like, oh wait, if I don't have a road and I don't have that color, I can't place over here. And you can get a tower that can then allow your road to. So it's just manipulating all that was a lot of fun. So nice. One I hope you'll be able to try sometime. But number 2,
indeed, very nice. My number 2 was a Christmas acquisition. And there's not a lot of games. In fact, kind of before this year and some of the new games I got recently, I don't know that I really had much of any games that fit into the niche of games that play in 5 minutes.
Is that that's a niche?
It's a niche. And there's something to be said for a game like this where the games are so quick that it's got that like let's play again factor of like let's play it again, and the factor of like you could sub people out and people could be watching but then they could jump in on the game. Like just the fact of being so short kind of opens up some interesting use cases, like in kind of a party setting or something. And this one was one that I had seen some buzz around, or people that had good experiences with, and I was like, you know what, this could be a fun little one in the collection. It has definitely surpassed, like my games of it have been more fun than I was expecting it to be. This is Strike, which is this little dice game. It literally, the box has like an arena, like the insert is the arena for the game. And there's just a bunch of dice, and everybody's going to have dice, and the goal is to not run out of dice. Like it's kind of your health in the game. And on your turn, you have to throw a die into the arena. And you can kind of do it however you want. You could roll it so it doesn't hit any of the other dice. You could try to just smack all the dice that are in the arena to try to change the results.
That could get dangerous.
Yes. But then once everything is settled, you're going to look and see if there's any X's, because instead of the dice having ones, there's X's. If there are, those all get removed. And then you're looking for any matches. So if you had like 4, 4, 5, 5, since each of those have matches, or if you had 6, 6, 6, you could take those all out and add them to your dice pool, and then your turn is over. But if you didn't make any matches, if they're all different, then you have a choice. You can either stop and just let it go to the next person, or you could take another turn and throw another die. And so it's like a little bit of that, how greedy do you get to try to get more dice out? Because if ever you throw your last die and you don't have any matches, then you are eliminated. And so it sounds so simple, and it's so lucky, right? Because you're like whacking dice and like seeing what they turn over to. And there's a little bit of decision of like, how much do I want to like hit the dice to kind of push my luck to maybe get like multiple matches versus like playing it safe. Mm-hmm. Honestly, the rule that like makes the game, in my opinion, is that if ever when you're taking matches out, it takes all the dice and there's no dice left in the arena, it forces the next player to go all in and they have to throw all their dice into the arena, which is normally pretty bad because you might roll a lot of X's, you might not get as many matches. And so it's a very fun thing because whenever somebody, we'll have situations where there's like 2 dice in there, say like a 3 and a 4, and somebody throws and hits the dice and gets all 3 to go to the same number. Suddenly they take all 3 out and the next person with all their dice has to throw them all in. And just the reaction that evokes from the table is so fun. Like, and it's one of these games that almost anybody can play and sit around and throw dice and have a good time.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, I got this for Christmas. In the 7 days since then, I think I logged like 31 plays of it. Because it was probably like 4 different sessions, but every one of those sessions, everybody's like, let's play again. Let's play again. Let's play again. Somebody else jumps in. We play again. Like, it's almost hard not to play again when the games are taking 4 to 5 minutes. And it's got this very visceral of just like, it's just satisfying to throw the dice in there and get it. And so, yeah, I can see why some people would not, and like if you didn't have the right group that's kind of like getting into kind of a funny game, it could fall really flat because you'd be like, oh my gosh, this game's just like all luck. Or like, we had cases where somebody, so the game starts with 1 die in there. So sometimes if we had someone throw their die in and match that die, so that forces the next person to go all in on their first turn, and we had them get eliminated on their very first turn of the game. They're first to go all in and didn't get any matches. But when that happens, it's funny, and you're only going to be out of the game for all of 4 or 5 minutes until it's done. And when it gets down to 2 people, it's just like this back and forth duel of like who managing the dice pools, and you can make big comebacks. So I don't know. I was very impressed by it, and just like I feel like I now have this new tool in my collection that I didn't have. I could see so many situations where I pull this out with a group that isn't really looking to play a big game, but just wants to sit around and socialize and have fun, throwing dice. So big hit. And one that honestly I put on my list as kind of a, it was like, I guess I'll throw it on there, right? Like it could be fun to try. And it turned out to be a big, I'm now to the point where having played it, I'm like, this feels like one of those must-own games for me personally, because I have no other game that does what that does, and it's so easy to get to the table. So
I think it goes to show a little bit why we do enjoy trying, and we get a decent amount of games, but why we like trying so many games is, even when we do research, you just don't know how it's going to land. And I think especially at games that are maybe super group dependent, it's hard when just looking at the rules to necessarily know, because until you're actually in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
And it's really hard with light games too, because usually, like if you're reading reviews or watching YouTubers or whatever, those games aren't likely to be on their top games list or like, or get like a really, really high rating, but they might be really, really good at what they do. And so sometimes, you don't really know until you actually get the opportunity to try it.
We need to do our top 10 5-minute board games.
I know, it has me thinking about that now, because it's that one, and then Kites was the other one that
that was a fun one.
That is another one that it's easy to teach, play it in 5 minutes, cooperative, and that one's gone over really well also. I think the only other game I can think of in my collection that's in that category is Clask, which is a little different.
Escape Escape is too long.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes, twice as long.
Twice as long.
That's just absurd. We could do 10 minutes or less, I suppose.
That would be maybe a little more. A little more realistic. Dang, that's cool.
So new candidate to shoot up the ranks of just most plays by raw plays. I mean,
I know.
Let's see, if it got 31 plays in 7 days,
that's going to be competing with all your 2-year-old board games that you
exactly
rack up plays on.
Yes.
Nice. Cool.
Okay,
number one to close the year, Ryan. Number one board game that I played in December is a game that you own and let me borrow.
Oh, interesting.
And this is going to go to Chronicles of Crime.
Which is great to hear because, as you may be leading into, your first game was not...
yes, that's a good preface. I played 2 games of it. And to give a little backstory, my wife and I have played, we did Sherlock Holmes once.
Consulting detective. Yep.
And that was good, but I don't like, and this is probably more of a problem with me than her. I hate the feeling of being totally stuck with like no idea. Like that's just I always
and there's always a chance in these types of games
and where it's just like, okay, we just have no idea and we never figure it out and it just ends. Our first game of this was that. Like we weren't even in the ballpark of what was happening. We were stuck forever. Finally, we go to the solution. We're like, what in the world? Like we were so off. Like that's and granted, with these type of games, I was thinking about this from a designer perspective. How hard is it to design a game that is, because you got to make it difficult.
Yep.
But you don't want it to be so difficult that people, because you can lose people on both ends of either, oh my gosh, that was incredibly easy, that wasn't fun, or that was so difficult.
And that's why you a lot of times with these different scenarios or expansions, you'll have people that are like, oh, that was my favorite scenario. And then somebody else is like, that was the worst one. Because it's just like so dependent on the group.
Yeah. So our first one was rough. And I was like, man, maybe these just type of games aren't for me. But I was like, okay, we're gonna try the next scenario, even though the first one was supposed to be easy. And this one says it's like hard. But we do this one and it went so well. Like in terms of I would say still my biggest criticism of these type of games is just the whole how it ends of like, oh, decide once you think you've figured it out. And then it's kind of, I don't know, I'm more of like, I kind of just want to like, boom, you solved it or something like that. You know, a little bit more.
Which I think Chronicles of Crime will force it at times. Like,
oh, okay.
Because I know on so you've played the first 2 of like the 3 game campaign that's in the base box. And I think it was on the 3rd one that it was like we were forced we had to like make a decision on something based on what we knew.
Okay.
And the 3rd one was definitely the best experience we had with it. So I'd be curious.
There you go. I'm excited. Yeah. So we actually, I mean, because it's so incredible in this game where you're obviously you're going around, you're scanning, people, and the whole just freedom you have of the system is so good of we can ask them about this person, or like how that all works is just so great. And when you are onto something and the connections you're making are, you're discovering information, that is so satisfying. And we had that, and we're like discussing and we're piecing it together, and we got almost like 90% of what the solution we got. There's some minor things that was like, okay, we were a little off on that, but to do the work and get that, I mean, it was obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything about the case, but it was so satisfying. So, I think anyone that likes the kind of, obviously if you have to like, kind of the escape room, if you like escape rooms, solving those things, man, delivering it in a board game like this is so cool. And I think it's awesome. I mean, they have so much content, in terms of case, scenarios you can do. Are there even like,
there's a bunch of DLC scenarios, stuff, and there's some expansions you can get. They now, Chronicles of Crime, the newer versions of it are just like standalone boxes. Like you don't need the original box. You can just get them. I know they have there's like a Chronicles of Crime 1400, 1900, and 2400. So it's like, old medieval, early 1900s, and then like a futuristic one. And I've heard those are very good, and that there's actually like an overarching connection or something.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot to explore there if your group likes it.
Yeah. There were just several moments throughout the game where you like, I mean, just like something happened, and it's like almost the like you're like, oh my gosh, like you have this moment of like, wait a second.
I mean, that one specifically, I remember that, and this isn't really a spoiler, but there's one point in it where we're going along and then something happens and it like all dawned on us like, oh, that's like really dark. Like there was like a really kind of dark turn.
Yeah.
And it kind of caught us off guard because we were so just in like happy discussing mode. And so it was definitely like a little bit of a surprise in the game.
Right. But, yeah. It was like the moment of like, wait a second. And then it was like, oh boy. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Coming in at number, I'm so happy we did that second play because that first play, it would have been my number 39 of the month, and we don't do lists that long, but
we don't.
Second play brings it in at number 1.
Yep, you guys will have to finish the campaign.
I know, finish the trilogy, and we'll bring in our new son in on it as well. See if he can help.
Yeah, exactly. Very nice. I am very pleased to be talking about my number 1.
You're gonna say talking to me, but
I'm very pleased to be talking to you on this fine evening that we are filming. My number 1 was one that we, as in the two of us, played the last month, and it didn't make our list when you played. But now when I played without you, it is making my list. So I don't know exactly the variables at play here. But as we mentioned in a previous video, Dango and I actually drew each other in our sibling gift exchange. So Dango ended up getting me too many bones. Just the right amount of bones he got me. The game, too many bones. And it was one where you were here for a few more days for Christmas, and we were like, could we squeeze in a time? I mean, this is like a long, complex game. And we did, but it was like I hadn't had the opportunity to like kind of play it ahead of time to really learn it.
Oh my gosh.
I later learned after we had played that there's some really good videos online that are like video tutorials for each character that like walk through how that character works. That would have been really, really good to do for each of our characters.
That game was like a combination of, oh my gosh, this is like one of the coolest games I've ever played, and oh my gosh, this is just a disaster.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Like, I don't know what's happening.
And we had fun the first time. We had a few things that went wrong because we like, missed some rules. We like finished a battle and are collecting rewards and then realized there's like 4 enemies left in the battle queue that we were supposed to spawn. And we're like, oh, dang it.
Yeah, that was a rough play.
So I revisited it and I played solo 2-handed. So I played 2 characters, largely because I wanted to like solidify the rules in my brain, because I was like, so help me if I don't play this for another year, like I'm going to forget all this. But also because it is a very highly esteemed solo game. Like that's actually a lot of the people that really enjoy it. And it went a lot better. One, I picked a better tyrant to go against. I wish we had known that the tyrant we picking probably wasn't the best first one, because of his... It's Nom or something, that when you fight him, you fight one at a time. And we didn't know that until
up front.
Yeah, we should have looked or not played against him. But this was better with the one I picked. And, it still was one of those games where it took me about 3 hours, which it's in the ballpark of actually what that game, for some of these longer tyrants would take. And it was still a game where I was spending a lot of time in the rule book, a lot of time with those player reference cards, a lot of times going,
grinding.
I think I understand how this specific die works for this character, but I'm Googling online to make sure I understand. Yeah. And I have to say, like, if you've eyed this game and haven't played it, like, be prepared that is the experience you're going to have. Like, these characters are so unique and complicated. They have 20 or 16 dice that are specific to them that all have their own upgrade paths and all have ways they work. And they have this whole sheet that tells you how your character, works. But if you're just going off that and not watching like a video or something explaining it, there's just going to be a lot of times that you're like, is that how this works? Or like there's just a lot of ambiguity in the rules and interpretations. But yeah, it is a very, very. A lot of the session was just excitement about getting to play this game more and having it. I got to see some of the dynamics of the tactical play on the map. And some of the enemy abilities that come out. So there was a dragon that had this engulf ability, which means when he attacks you, he also hits anybody that's next to you. So that whole battle turned into this, how can I make sure the person that's getting blasted by the dragon is like by other enemies so that I'm like getting collateral damage?
Yeah.
And that just completely changed the tactics of this battle. And I was playing with Pickett, who is the character you played, who's kind of more of a tank, kind of defensive. I had a lot more success than you did in that I got a bunch of my permanent dice out pretty early, so I had like permanent extra movement. And, yeah,
I was trying.
And then my other character
right away couldn't roll them.
My other character was the medic. I forget the name of the medic character, so it has like healing abilities and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a fun session, and I'm just excited. I can see it being a really fun game that I actually would pull out solo, like if I have like want to do like a bigger game. But then I also am really looking forward to play it with 2 or 3 players. 3 players is definitely going to get long. But I also think it might be the best player count as far as just like the interest of having 3 people and kind of how you can interplay with each other.
Yeah, how long do you think it'd be at 3?
I mean, it all boils down to like, is it 3 players that like know the game and have played the game? And it depends on which tyrant you're playing, because the tyrants like have different numbers of days and they can range from. So I mean, you could be playing.
And don't do the shortest when you're playing
hour.
The first time. That's what we learned.
Yeah. Or if you do at least know, okay, we got to all build to be like well-rounded because we're going to be alone.
That was such a sad realization.
It was, and it was late.
It was lame. Yeah.
Yes. But very cool game. You know, I'm excited by, there's a lot of expansion content for it. And, you know, there's new gear locks, which we've talked about how they're so unique and how they work. And so like getting one new gear lock is like a lot of new stuff to explore in the way they pair with other ones, as well as new enemies. And I mean, it's just one of those ones where each time you go through, more content's just going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited about it. It's a beast. Like, it's a hard game to recommend. I mean, you have to be in that category of like some of the highest complexity of like what you want in a game. Yeah. And it maybe gears a little bit towards, because like the characters, it's almost like each time you can kind of decide how you want to play them. It's like, okay, this time with this character, I think I'm going to go after this upgrade path, and this one, or this will complement you. And so you can kind of think about, okay, with these 2 characters, what are the ways they can complement each other? But yeah, hopefully it isn't too long before I have the opportunity to play a multiplayer game of it.
Yeah.
And I am optimistic about it staying in the collection.
And it might win the award for most packed or efficiently packed,
most dense game.
That thing's a
like
freaking brick.
Weight per cubic inch. It is a brick. Because I have it's the newer version, because it used to come in like a big square box, and now which is nice that they've made it more compact. But man, I mean, it's Chip Theory Games. Their whole thing is that like they use all these really nice chips, and like everything is waterproof. Like they always use the neoprene and
which is
cards.
Important. Yeah.
Yes, it's very important. That's why I played my last game of Too Many Bones in the tub.
In the bathtub.
Yep. So we'll be doing our top 10 games to play in the bathtub here coming up soon.
Hey, Hive.
Hive is a great one. That might be about it. Underwater, you have to go down, and you have that long to resolve.
Yes.
It would look cool. It'd be like Atlantis.
Cool. Yeah, I know. You could play a little Atlantis version of Heroes game.
Yeah. There you go. December in the books. A good year of gaming. A year ago today, we didn't even know we were going to be making YouTube videos on this channel.
Look at us now, Ryan.
Look at us now. We're fully grown, playing games like Too Many Bones. We've earned it.
We've earned it.
Be sure to drop in the comments games that you've enjoyed playing lately. We'd love to hear about it. But that wraps up our top plays of December.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. And like Ryan mentioned, we've got links to everything down below. We've got our board game recommendation guide link down below, all that sort of stuff. So you can check that out. And we've got a couple more videos for you right here that you can click on, and we will see you in the next one.